Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiv Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtuprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiti. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 54 onwards. So far Krishna described, I know it's been a long time since we had the last discussion. So he described about Nishkam Karma Yoga, and then he talked about like the last verse was, when your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. So then Arjun will ask, what are the symptoms of a person who has this divine consciousness that Krishna is talking so much about? Arjun uvacha sthita pragyasya ka bhasha samadhisthasya keshava stitadhi kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. So Arjun said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak and what's his language? How does he sit and how does he walk? So these are the four questions he asked. What are the symptoms? How does he speak or what's his language? How does he sit and how does he walk? These two symptoms or the activities, how does he sit and how does he walk, actually doesn't really figuratively mean sitting and walking. It has some deeper meaning. So that's why, because Prabhupada explained it nicely, we can understand. By sitting, Arjun, actually, he wanted to know when that person who is self-realized, when he is not using his senses, what does he do? And how does he walk means how he engages his senses. So this was a inner meaning of these words. Later on, Krishna will explain. So let's see what Prabhupada says in the purport. As there are symptoms for each and every man in terms of his particular situation, similarly one who is Krishna conscious has his particular nature, talking, walking, thinking, feeling, etc. As a rich man has his symptoms by which he is known as a rich man, as a diseased man has his symptoms by which he is known as a diseased man, or as a learned man has his symptoms, so a man in transcendental consciousness of Krishna has specific symptoms in various dealings. So everybody has his symptoms. Prabhupada explained, rich man has his own symptoms, poor man has his own, learned man has his own. So a person in Krishna consciousness, he also has his symptoms by which we can know. Most important is how the man in Krishna consciousness speaks. So that is the most important symptom of a person who is self-realized, or Prabhupada directly takes one to Krishna consciousness. For speech is the most important quality of a man. It is said that a fool is undiscovered as long as he does not speak. So speaking is most important quality. I mean, we can even like from our day-to-day lives, we can fool somebody by our like the way we dress. We can fool somebody, or if I have very nice tilak on, or if I have very kanthimala looks nice and my dhoti kurta looks perfect, and he might be fooled, oh, this person is a very big Vaishnava, or he is very advanced in Krishna consciousness. But as soon as a person starts speaking, we can judge by the way he speaks or what he speaks, what's his language, and what the way he's speaking and how humble he is, how arrogant he is. We can know if this person is genuine or he's a fake person. So external appearance is not that much of a that much of significance as much as how he speaks and what are the different symptoms actually. So Krishna will start speaking, and now till the end of this chapter, Krishna will explain different symptoms of a person, answering these four questions of Arjuna. And in fact, this text 54 to the words he used to read every day of Bhagavad Gita. When he said, somewhere he said, I read Bhagavad Gita every day. In fact, these were the verses that he used to read every day. If other verses also he could read. They really had effect on him. Shri Bhagwan Uvacha Prajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogatan Atmani Evatmana Tushta Sthit Pragyastad Uchyate. The Supreme Personality of God had said, O Parth, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. So these are the symptoms. First is describing the symptoms. When a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction. So sense gratification is also of two kinds. One is arising from mental concoction, means his mind is troubling the person. I want to enjoy this. I should go ahead for this. We should have that. And the other sense gratification is spiritual sense gratification, where a person, out of service to Krishna, he gets pleasure. Nothing for himself. This is a service to Krishna. But in return, he gets much pleasure than anybody can even think of. Just to give an example, like yesterday, we all enjoyed a lot in the trip. Everybody is speaking so much on the groups. But exactly what did we do? We went on a nice AC bus, and of course the travel, and then the kirtan, and then the prasadam, and then the darshan, and then we sat down and read the whole canto of Bhagavatam, and then Ganges bathing, then again coming back. But what was the mood? Mood was not to enjoy ourselves. Of course, we did enjoy, but the mood, we were looking for something spiritual experience. Kirtan, we were chanting, we were singing in the kirtan. So it was singing is same, like people outside also sing in material world. But when we are singing this Hare Krishna Mantra or other bhajans, the mood is different. We are trying to please Krishna. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra is what? We are begging Radha and Krishna, please engage me in your service. Of course, we were using different tunes in begging. So mood was to serve, and in return, we were getting lots of pleasure. And when all the Matajis were making breakfast for all the devotees, what was the mood? Mood was service. But in the service, we were getting pleasure. When we were reading, sitting down in that fan-less room, and we were reading first canto of Bhagavatam, what was the mood? If we tell anybody, okay, no fan, no light here, you have to sit here and read book on arithmetic or physics or whatever, hardly half an hour anybody can sit down and read. But we were sitting there, read. I think we sat down for maybe 5-6 hours over there, and we read the whole canto. This is what happens in bhakti. When we're trying to please Krishna, when we're trying to please Srila Prabhupada, we get lots of pleasure. And this pleases the soul. When we went for Ganges bathing, first, there's not enough water, or the water is dirty, or this or that. But when we were inside, we were really having fun. But because it was Ganges, it was Ganga, it was purifying, and association of devotees was purifying, we were having lots of fun. And by the time we came back, although it was late, till I reached home, or I stayed at Radha Prabhu's house, till that time I was still fresh. Of course, when I hit the bed, I was like, oh gosh, I'm too tired right now. But till that time, I was so fresh. It really pleases the senses. The senses gets enlivened. But at the same time, Krishna, what is saying? When a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction. So that part we have to add. Krishna consciousness or bhakti does not mean no sense gratification. Of course, lots of senses, and senses are completely gratified. Senses are completely pleased by bhakti. Only when somebody does tapasya and all that, of course, his senses are completely negative. He completely controls or tries to suppress his senses. But bhakti is totally different. Bhakti means you enjoy the senses to the utmost degree. But the process is to serve, and in return we get pleasure. And in return we get lots of pleasure. That's when bhakti person wants to serve. That's it. And then Krishna says, and when his mind, thus purified, why purified? Because he's not looking for sense gratification. Only thing he's looking for is service. Finds satisfaction in the self alone. That is the real satisfaction. Then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. So, welcome Subramaniam Prabhu. Hare Krishna. We are on second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, text 55. If you have Bhagavad Gita with you, you can open. Is his mic on? Or? Oh, he doesn't have his mic on. Radha Prabhu, can you send him a message to turn on his mic? In the purport, Prabhupada writes, the Bhagavatam affirms that any person who is fully in Krishna consciousness or devotional service of the Lord has all the good qualities of the great sages, whereas a person who is not so transcendently situated has no good qualifications, because he is sure to be taking refuge in his own mental concoctions. And why mental concoctions? Why the mind? Her mind is said to be so powerful. Because all our senses, it is said, the body is just like a chariot, and 5 senses are like horses of the chariot. Mind is like the rope that connects the horse to the charioteer, and the charioteer is the intelligence, and the person, the soul, is a passenger. So mind is a rein or the rope that controls the horses. But so the mind is considered very, very important and very, very powerful. Of course, the intelligence has to be so strong that it controls the mind, but many times what happens is the mind controls the intelligence. So the mental concoction is, how it happens is, all the senses, they are looking for pleasure. Basically, this is what senses want to do. Eyes want to see something beautiful, nose wants to smell something nice, fragrance, and tongue wants to eat something very palatable. So all these senses, they send signal to the mind. Continuously, they're sending signals to the mind. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that. So the mind, if it is not controlled by the intelligence, then mind gives up or gives in to the demands of the senses, then it starts going for this sense gratification. And that's why it is said, if a person is not transcendently situated, he is sure to be taking refuge in his own mental concoctions, means the drives of the mind. Consequently, it is rightly said herein that one has to give up all kinds of sense desires manufactured by mental concoction. But the sense desires or sense gratification is there, but the higher taste is what we have to give to these senses. Artificially, such sense desires cannot be stopped. Here, Prabhupada is right. Artificially, we cannot stop. We cannot just suppress those senses. But if one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, then automatically sense desires subside without extraneous efforts. Therefore, one has to engage himself in Krishna consciousness without hesitation. For this devotional service will instantly help one onto the platform of transcendental consciousness. Such a transcendently situated person has no sense desires resulting from petty materialism. So such a transcendently situation. So we have to try to situate ourselves in the transcendental position, and the senses will be pleased. Sense will not just be pleased; they'll be completely satisfied when we come to Krishna consciousness. When we come to the platform of bhakti. In bhakti, there is nothing lacking. In fact, in the material world, there's something is lacking. What is lacking is Krishna. In bhakti, it says Krishna is there, and Krishna is a controller and proprietor of all the senses. And when we serve him, our senses has to be completely pleased. There cannot be anything lacking in that. That's why sometimes people say to the devotees who quit their jobs and come and serve in the temple full time, people say, "Oh, you have given up so much. You have given up your career and your life outside, and this and that." And then we say, "Actually, you are more renounced than we are." And they get confused. How come we are more renounced? We say we have given up just a career and just a maybe car and a maybe big house and this and that. But we say you have completely given up Krishna. So you are more renounced. Because at least we haven't given up Krishna. Krishna is the source. Krishna is the proprietor of everything. So we are holding on to him. And he gives us all the pleasure and all the facilities we need. But you have given up Krishna, so you are more renounced than we are. Because you have given up pretty much everything. So this they cannot understand, and then they say, "Oh no, this is not true." That's what Prabhupada is writing last line. Rather, he remains always happy in his natural position of eternally serving the Supreme Lord. And just like in Nectar of Devotion, we were reading, Supreme Lord, when it is said Krishna, Krishna doesn't mean only Krishna. Krishna means Krishna, his expansions, his incarnations, his creation, his energies, his servants, everything, his paraphernalia, that all makes Krishna. So when Prabhupada says eternally engaged in serving Krishna, means we are engaged in serving rest everything also. Then a person he remains always happy. And that is the happiness we all are looking for. Next verse, Krishna says, Dukheshva anudvigna mana sukheshu vigat spriha vitarag bhaya krodha siddhir muniruchyate. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. Again, one who is not disturbed in mind, even in mind he is not disturbed, when amidst the threefold miseries. So what are the threefold miseries? There are threefold miseries called triple A actually. Adhyatmik klesha. Adhyatmik klesha means miseries given to me by my own body or mind. If the mind is disturbed or body is sick, or there's some pains and aches or fevers in the body, then I get disturbed. And then there is adhi-davik klesha, or the miseries given to me by higher sources, higher people who are controllers. Like if there is too much rain or not enough rain, or there's too much heat, too much cold, earthquakes, tornadoes, all these things we have no control over, but we get disturbed by that. Adhyatmic, adhibautic, and adhidevik klesha. No, I'm sorry. Adhidevik is done. Adhibautic. Adhibautic is when other living entities, they give me miseries. Just like yesterday, some devotees saw that crocodile, but if that crocodile had started coming towards us, we would be running from that Ganges. So that would be adhibautic klesha. So that crocodile is giving us a problem, is giving us miseries. Or when we sat in the bus, there were so many mosquitoes. So those mosquitoes were giving us miseries. Although we were sitting in nice air-conditioned bus, but the mosquitoes were there and mosquitoes were biting and that was miserable. And we couldn't even open the windows to get the mosquitoes out. It was a very miserable situation for time being. So other living entities, when they give us misery, so that is adhibautic. So this is what it means by threefold miseries. So when mind is not disturbed by these threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, or one doesn't get too much elation or too much, oh, I got this happiness, I got this, I got that, so I'm happy, and he gets disturbed. So that thing, one has to remain steady. The understanding that whatever is given as a happiness or misery is mercy of Krishna. That's all. Prabhupada writes the word muni, because in the shloka this word is sthit dhir munir uchyate. The word muni means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. That is muni. A Sthitadhir Muni is different from an ordinary Muni. The Sthitadhir Muni is always in Krishna consciousness, or one who has surpassed the stage of mental speculations and has come to the conclusion that Lord Shri Krishna or Vasudev is everything. That is a Sthitadhir Muni. It means he's fixed up, he's steady. So such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries. Onslaughts means continuously there are these miseries are given to us in the material world. Any person in the material world is always given these miseries. And that's why the superintendent of this material world is also called Durga, and the superintendent is called Durga. So Durga ji is always holding although she has 10 hands and she's holding different weapons. The main weapon is this Trishul, the trident. And the trident has 3 spears, and these 3 spears refer to these threefold miseries. So she's always beating us up or trying to stab us with this spear or with these threefold miseries, and we think we will remain happy and we can remain very peaceful in this material world. It's not going to happen. Everybody is constantly, and Prabhupada writes, nice word, onslaught, is constantly being harassed by the onslaught of threefold miseries. If you look at our day, if you just calmly sit down and examine our day, how it has gone through whole day today, except for the messages of Radha Damodar Prabhu and the wonderful pictures about the trip yesterday, the whole day we can see it has been miserable. Either for Mataji's, the husband has been bothering them, or the kids are bothering them. For the kids, mother and father are always a problem. They're always chastising them. And for husband, wives are always nagging or doing whatever. And then they are disturbed, and suppose the light is not there, then it is too hard, and it is miserable condition. And we are sitting here, okay, not thinking tomorrow I have to get back to work, and weekend was so nice, and we're getting disturbed but just by thinking of how am I going to go to work tomorrow. In fact, in America, they're very good at doing all the surveys. And they had done a survey and they found out most number of heart attacks happen in America on Monday morning between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. because nobody wants to go to work. They say we would rather die than go to work after the weekend. So, so it is miserable situation. So just by my own body or mind, I'm getting miserable. I'm suffering. So this material world is full of these miseries, especially these threefold miseries. But a Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as a mercy of the Lord. Thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds, and he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. So this is the consciousness, the mentality, this is the thought power of a devotee. He thinks, if I'm suffering, well, this is only because of my past misdeeds, whether in this life or previous lives. And he says, Krishna is very merciful because I was supposed to suffer more, much more than this. And he has just given me token punishment. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. Means if he has achieved something, if he got something, he says it's only by the mercy of the Lord. I was not at all qualified or a person worthy of getting this kind of achievement. So in both cases, he's always dependent on the Lord. He realizes that it is due to only to Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. And then in the shloka it says, Vit Raga Bhaya Krodha. So, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger. So what is attachment? Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. So when one accepts things for his own sense gratification, that is attachment. And the person who is Krishna conscious, he is completely detached. He is not attached. He's only attached as much as things are required for Krishna service, he accepts it. Otherwise, he won't. And if the attachment is there, then there will be fear of losing that thing. And if one loses that thing, the anger will be there. So these three things, they go hand in hand: attachment, fear, and anger. Because these words will come again in other verses in Bhagavad Gita. So Rag, Bhaya, and Krodha. A person who is serving Krishna, he is not attached to anything. Of course, he is only attached to his service. That's all. And the most important service that Krishna has given us is chanting of the holy names. That's the most important service. And if you're doing that perfectly, because other services, he can take away or he can give us more service. That's up to him. But this service is the most important, that on his own, he will not take it away. If we want to give it up, it's up to us. But he will not take it away. Because he knows this is our like bread and butter of our spiritual life. Without this, we cannot survive. Where are we? How much time we have? Time. Okay, text 57. Ya sarvatran abhisnehas tattat prapya shubha shubham nabhinandati nadveshti tasya pragya pratishtita. In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. Again, the same thing. One who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. That is a person of perfect knowledge. That is sthita pragya. There is always some upheaval in the material world, which may be good or evil. One who is not agitated by such material upheavals, who is unaffected by good and evil, is to be understood to be fixed in Krishna consciousness. So we have a person who's in bhakti, who's in Krishna consciousness, he understands that if something good is happening in my life, it's also because of my past good deeds, and something bad that is happening in my life is because of my past misdeeds. It's simple as that. And if something bad, supposedly bad, actually, if you look at it, it's not bad. Supposedly or apparently, it looks like it is bad. Bad is means if it doesn't go according to my plans, actually. This is bad. Then we have to understand that Krishna is, or we are, removing our bank balance of negative karmas. If supposedly I'm suffering, if supposedly I'm going through some rough time, then my negative bank balance is getting reduced. So I should be happy. Because for those negative karmas, I have to suffer anyway, either today or tomorrow. So I should be happy. I'm reducing the negative bank balance. And if something good is happening, that is because of my past good deeds. And that means that Krishna is trying to tell me that, yeah, and the person, like in the previous verse we read, if he is getting something good results, then he should be thankful to Krishna for giving him the good results. So either way, the person should remain fixed, should remain steady, should not get disturbed. Prabhupada writes, as long as one is in the material world, there is always the possibility of good and evil, because this world is full of duality. But one who is fixed in Krishna consciousness is not affected by good and evil, because he is simply concerned with Krishna, who is all good, absolute. Of course, it's easier said than done, easier said than practiced. Of course it is. Because we all are struggling in this material world, struggling with our personal, professional, private lives, and trying to inculcate bhakti. But this struggle, or when we are struggling, we take shelter of Krishna's name, Krishna's words, through his Bhagavad Gita, or Krishna's devotees, Krishna's service. Then slowly we get okay, we get steady, we get stabilized, and we make advancement. This is the whole process. The problems will always be there. And in fact, more we advance, more problems will come. That's also a fact. More advanced a devotee, he'll get more problems, and he will not get disturbed by those problems. And that is the beauty of bhakti. And that's why Krishna loves his devotees. Just like, to give an example, Prahlad Maharaj, he was only 5 years old. How old is Cherry? Cherry, I think, is 5, right? Vanda Mataji? I think Cherry is 5. Or maybe...
yes, Prabhuji, Cherry is 5. Sorry for
that's okay. So Cherry is 5 years old. Prahlad Maharaj was 5 years old when his father, who was the biggest terrorist of the universe, who basically controlled the whole universe, and he had so much control that all the demigods, they were afraid of him. Surya Dev, Chandra Dev, Indra Dev, Varun Dev, Agni Dev, Vayu Dev, everybody was afraid of Hiranyakashipu. Only Brahmaloka he didn't go and terrorize because he had taken benedictions from Brahmaji. Besides Brahmaji, everybody was afraid of him. Of course, Shivji is also not afraid of Hiranyakashipu. Besides that, everybody was afraid. If he says today, right now, I want spring season, and that moment only the spring season had to happen. And 5 minutes later, if he wanted rainy season, the rainy season had to happen. Because all the demigods who were in charge, they were afraid. They would follow his orders. And this 5-year-old boy, size of cherry, if you can imagine. Of course, that time was different, so Prahlad Maharaj could be bigger in size. But if you think, just size of cherry, and Hiranyakashipu, the biggest terrorist of the whole universe, not even of India, whole universe. Hiranyakashipu asked him, my dear son, what is the thing that you studied in school? What is it that you study? What do you like the most in the school? And just imagine Cherry sitting on the laps of Hiranyakashipu and saying, oh, the best thing I learned in the school is about bhakti of Hari. Oh, my father, your senses are always disturbed, so you better take shelter of Lord Hari. And Hari, and Hiranyakashipu used to think Hari is his biggest enemy. Can you imagine? And Prahlad Maharaj never ever deviated from that point. Even though Hiranyakashipu tried to kill him, tried to devise so many ways to kill him, Prahlad Maharaj never deviated. So that is the power of bhakti, that is the power of faith in Krishna. How steady he was. We can't even imagine here Prabhupada just writing onslaughts of threefold miseries. Imagine what kind of miseries Prahlad Maharaj must have been going through. His own father is trying to kill him. But he remained steady. So more advanced a devotee, more tests will come, and he will pass a test with flying colors and giving hope to all the neophytes like us. Oh, Prahlad Maharaj can do it. So maybe there is some hope against hope for us. Maybe something is there for us. But this is what happens. Bhishma Pitama, Mahajan, only 12 Mahajans are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, and he is one of those 12. And how big a test he had to go through. He had to fight against the devotees and against the Supreme Lord himself. That was his position, and he did it. He understood this is what Krishna wants. This is my service to Krishna. He did it. Look at all the devotees. Haridas Thakur. Brahmaji came as Haridas Thakur. He was beaten up in 22 marketplaces. But he was steady. So that's what happens. More advanced we are, more miseries or more tests will be there. And the person shows by his example how steady he is. Even in those threefold or manifold miseries, onslaughts of miseries, he'll remain steady. And that is a symptom of a steady person, sthiti pragya. So, well, next verse, it is how he sits. So I will take those verses next time. Ask anybody has any questions or comments. Any questions or comments?
One question I have.
Yes, Prabhu.
Sometimes you said that when we advance, tests or troubles will increase.
Yeah.
Sometimes we see the devotees also going through a very tough, difficult time. Is it the result of their karmas, or is it the test which Krishna wants to give just to make them, famous or renowned in this world?
Well,
Harpreet is correcting me. She says, is these troubles given by Krishna to bring him back to his kingdom?
So that's why they say, behind every successful man, a woman is there. Okay. The test in the life of a devotee, if we look at it philosophically, a devotee, he has no past karma left. It's all organized by Krishna. But that is philosophy. Practically, maybe the devotee has done something wrong. That's why he might be suffering. Or maybe Krishna himself wants to give him something to elevate him further. It's hard to know. It's very hard to find out. But no matter what, the suffering is always for purification. Whatever the cause might be, the suffering is always for purification. Because it is said, gold is also becomes kundan, pure, once it goes through fire and it's beaten up. And diamond is only carbon, a charcoal. If it doesn't get so much compressed under high pressure, then it becomes diamond. Otherwise, it's just a charcoal. So no matter what the reason for the suffering is, it's always for the purification. If he has committed offenses, so he's suffering. So those offenses, he gets rid of those reactions, then he can continue with his bhakti again.
Okay. So for the Vaishnava aparadha or other offenses which we do get material suffering, or we just become materially very well off so that we forget Krishna?
See, how we suffer is up to Krishna. We cannot decide. What will be the suffering or the reaction of offenses? That's up to Krishna to decide. What's best for this person.
How does the devotee?
How does a devotee?
How does a devotee feel when he goes through the pain? Like we see people suffer because when there is some pain or some undesirable situations. But a true devotee of the Lord, how does he feel? Like when
he feels that it is because of my past misdeeds I am suffering from. Just like when Haridas Thakur, he was beaten up in 22 marketplaces. And afterwards, the soldiers, they threw him in Ganges. And he swam across and he came back to the same village. And Kazi was surprised. And they said, we made a mistake, you were a big saint. But then other devotees, people asked him, why did you have to go through this suffering of getting beaten up in 22 marketplaces? And Haridas Thakur reply was, because of my offense of listening to these people when they were speaking against the holy name. He said, I suffered because of that. But at the same time, now this is the devotee who's undergoing suffering. At the same time, what should be our behavior or our outlook? It should not be of, okay, he's suffering, he's very offensive, so let's get rid of him and kick him out or whatever. No. Just like a person, if he is physically handicapped, or a person was very fit and he goes through an accident and suppose his limbs are cut off, how much compassion we would have for that person? We will definitely have compassion. We'll try to take care of him. So similarly, if somebody is spiritually either handicapped or he is hurt, shouldn't we have compassion for him or her?
Yeah.
Because this compassion is what makes us dear to Krishna. He also wants to see how we are behaving with others. And this is what I think Jesus Christ teaching is, no? Do unto others what you want them to do to you. And this should be actually the mode in our service. We should serve devotees in the way we want us to be served. Of course, Abhishek Prabhu and C.P. Singh Prabhu, they overfed Pramod Mohanty Prabhu yesterday, but I'm pretty sure they don't want to be overfed. But that's loving exchange. We cannot do anything in that. But the idea is, we know the idea. I mean, how we should serve others, how we want them to serve us, or how we want to be served. That should be the mood. So similarly, in our relationships, in our dealings, we should deal with others the way we want them to deal with us. In case we are in trouble, in case we are in problem, we want compassion. We want a shoulder to cry on or to lean on. So we should also lend our shoulder to others. Everybody either is going through problems or will go through problems. That's for sure. So that should be our mood.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other question or comment?
I have a question.
Yes, Virat Kohli.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, why Krishna did not marry Radha Rani?
Well, he did marry her. There's a place called Bhandirvan, and maybe one day we can take a trip there near Vrindavan. Outwardly or openly, he didn't marry because he wanted to perform some leelas. And those leelas are a little difficult to understand.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hare Krishna, Subhu Prabhu, welcome to the class.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Please enlighten us.
So Prabhuji, one question, which I think should be probably that challenges me, has been challenging me throughout my life, and I'm sure it is challenging everybody. Yesterday, can I be heard, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear.
When we are in company of noble souls like you and the devotees, we almost feel that being Sthita Prajna is being taken for granted. We don't need to make any effort for that. All the devotees, whenever they are appreciated, acknowledged, they are they are told of their services are appreciated. They don't feel elated. They just do everything to God, and there is no question of criticism or any negativity around us. But the moment we are taken out from this environment, which seems more like a exception than rule in day-to-day life, and put into the actual real-life situation of cutthroat competition, where you are dealing every time with criticisms and appreciations, and your reaction apparently doesn't seem to be the same as before. So any criticism obviously is taken very personally, like it's a criticism of yourself, you as the person, and at the same time we crave for appreciation all the time. So how do we be a sthita pragya in a situation like a cutthroat competition where there is jealousy, there is one over the other, not one and the other sort of situation?
So we have to, well, wonderful question, first of all. That's why we have to look at the lives of these great sages, great devotees. We took the example of Prahlad Maharaj. He wasn't doing, he wasn't among the association of Vaishnavas when he was going through all these problems. He had all the demons around him, but he was still completely fixed. I'm not saying everybody in soprasteria is a demon that you have to deal with. But at work, what we can do is Krishna has given me this work, this position, this job, this power, whatever I have, and these co-workers and boss also. It's all arranged by Krishna. And actually it is arranged by Krishna. So we have to see Krishna's hand everywhere. We have to be able to. And if Krishna wants, he can kick out all these cutthroat competitions and leg pulling and backbiting and whatever politics that goes on in the office. We have to remain steady. And we should not forget that, of course, a person in Krishna consciousness, he also preaches by his example. He speaks less and preaches whole day. So we have to preach by example. And once we are established as a spiritual person, people try to just stay, I mean, without doing any politics with him. It happens. And even if something happens, person sees this is Krishna's mercy, and Krishna does take care of that devotee. That's not a problem for Krishna.
Thanks, Guruji.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
And one thing for us devotees, for us neophytes, one thing that I've learned, like probably mentioned about pranic healing. So one thing I've learned, end of the day, we should, before we go to sleep, spend 5 minutes on analyzing the whole day. What did I do in the whole day? What was right and what was not so right? That I should have avoided or I could have acted differently. Of course, there are more techniques given. Once somebody comes in pranic healing, we can teach those. But at least we can analyze those and we try to erase those memories, at least the bad ones. And we should ascertain, or we should be more fixed up that if the same situation comes again, I will try to be a different person. I'll try to act differently. I'll try to respond, not react. I'll try to respond differently. So that is, I mean, we have to take stock of our own responses every day. And we should thank to Krishna. Krishna, thank you for putting me in such a situation. Please help me next time. And in the morning when we get up, we should pray to Krishna. Of course, chanting is a prayer, but we can make our own prayers because Krishna is looking for the prayers that really come from the heart. That really come from the heart. Oh, Krishna, I might face this situation. I have to face these people. Please help me. Please protect me. So I respond properly. I remain your representative. I want to represent you. Or whatever prayers we can come from our heart, which can come from our heart. And we start a day like that and end the day with whatever wrong, analyzing the day, good and wrong things we have done. And we try to pray that please give me the strength so that I can respond differently next time if I'm in the same situation. Like especially the feelings of anger, hatred, jealousness, enviousness, or criticism, as you said, or other negative feelings, we should try to remove those from our heart. And we have to work positively on this. We have to endeavor to remove this. Of course, Krishna's holy name is very powerful. It can remove, but how much we are chanting properly, then it depends on that. So at least if we work on these negative qualities, we try to remove those, it will help. It will help make us better person.
Thanks.
Thank you, brother. Any other question or comment? Harinath Prabhu just joined us. I think he didn't get the message. It's 4 to 5 class.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So class will be 4 to 5 on weekends.
Noted Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So I guess we should stop here. So everybody have a wonderful evening and enjoy your day. Jai Srila Prabhupada.